You are listening to Belly Birth Beyond with Pelvic Floor Mama. I'm your host, Becca Boving, pelvic rehab certified coach and mom of two. Welcome to the safe space where no topics of motherhood are off limits and judgment is left at the door. Too many mamas are dismissed when they've got valid concerns. If you're sick of hearing that's normal when it feels otherwise, keep listening. Hey mama, welcome back. Today I'm so excited to share we have Sarah from Little Slumber Stars. She is a certified pediatric sleep consultant and OT. So Sarah, why don't you just share a little bit about you and what you do?
Yes, so my primary focus is helping families get more sleep. I'm an occupational therapist, so I've worked in hospitals and schools and clinics, and I worked with children and developed a passion for sleep because I noticed a lot of the kids I was working with weren't sleeping, and so their parents were tired. And I started learning more and more about that through continuing education. Then I became a mom myself and got to see the motherhood side of what that looks like, and slowly learned as much as I could and developed my own business. So I do one-on-one sleep coaching with families is my primary thing. And
Yeah.
and then I have also recently developed a newborn course because I feel passionately about educating new moms on things that they can do with their newborns in order to set them up for successful independent sleep.
I love that because I'm someone who needs sleep all the time. Before kids, I needed like 10 hours. And one of the first things that we actually purchased with my son was a sleep course because I could not do it. Like I mentally was just like exhausted. Like I need help. I need something. And you know nothing. And some moms do. Some moms go into it and they have some education or they've had a friend or a family member and they're like, oh, or whatever the situation may be. And then others are like, I'm not sleeping, baby's not sleeping, help me, or like their longest stretches during the day, like I'm not getting anything at night.
Yes, I think there's a huge lack of education there, I don't know if it's healthcare or Instagram. There's a lot of misinformation and people just feel so overwhelmed sometimes in those early days.
For sure. What are a couple tips that you would give like a new mom?
My biggest tip would be to not let too many of things that you're told get to you and try to get to know your baby and know that you don't have to take a side on like I'm going to contact nap or I'm going to co-sleep or I'm going to have them nap in their bassinet every time. I'm not going to do car naps. It's like feeling out your baby and doing what's best for you and your family, but also having the education on what you can do in those first few months to make the transition easier so that you can start doing some of those things when you feel ready. But don't beat yourself up if you need a car nap or a contact nap now and then, but still trying to instill some of those healthy habits because as they get older, it does get a lot more difficult to teach them independent sleep if you don't try to instill some of those healthy things early on. So I think just educating yourself on what we know works, but also knowing that if you don't do that every time, it's totally okay.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're someone who just wants to soak in all those newborn snuggles. Like,
Yes,
do
yes.
it.
I love the newborn snuggles. And I always tell people, like, don't let someone on TikTok tell you that you can or can't snuggle with your baby. It's okay to snuggle with your baby and alternate. Have them nap sometimes in a bassinet and sometimes in your arms because that's totally okay. And we don't, I think another tip, I'm just side thinking, is people like to really get hardcore focused on a schedule and a clock, and newborns just don't really follow that. Now, older babies do, and we can talk about that later. But focusing really hardcore on a clock in those newborn days is usually not very beneficial.
You're probably spending more time trying to remember like the last time they woke up or took a nap or ate than you are actually like doing those
Yes,
things.
enjoying your
Yeah.
baby. Yeah,
Yeah, I
totally.
remember that. That was so different. So what are some tips then that you would give them? So that's one of them, but what are some things that they could learn to start to implement to set up good sleep habits?
Yeah, so I think a huge one that I have found, and I've learned some people misunderstand me on this, so I'm going to try to word it well. Many people let their newborns sleep too much during the day because they think, oh, my baby's sleepy, my baby's sleepy. Newborns sleep all the time. And yes, they're supposed to sleep 16 to 20 hours, but those 4 to 8 hours that they should be awake, we want that to be during the day because we want them to sleep at night, right? So even though newborns are going to wake up and eat overnight, we still want to, as early as possible, have really, really good awake time during the day. And so the first thing you can focus on is trying to keep them awake for 45 minutes. So if each time they wake up, doesn't matter how long they napped, look at your clock, not too much, but kind of look, keep them awake and make it fun for 45 minutes. Make it engaging, take them outside, show them some black and white contrast toys, and try to keep them awake for 45 minutes. And then after their next nap, again, doesn't really matter how long they nap at this point, but each time they wake up, we're trying to kind of keep them awake for about 45 minutes.
Yeah. And sometimes with a newborn, they just eat and go right back to sleep.
Exactly. And that's the thing is people think my baby's tired, so I'm just going to let them sleep. And then what ends up happening is they sleep so much during the day and you're like, why won't they sleep at night? Well, they were sleeping all day, right? So, and again, like if they take a 30-minute nap and that doesn't seem like enough, then you don't start keeping them awake for 45 minutes again. You have to learn your baby a little bit, but that's a good tidbit to keep in mind is that 45 minutes only during the day so that at night they can start sleeping more consistently.
Oh, for sure. What about babies who have their nights like switched, right? Like what about those babies who their longest stretch, like for instance, Cal, like before we took all of our sleep courses and stuff, his longest stretch was always like noon to 4. Like, and this is early on, like this was early on, but like noon to 4. And then in the middle of the night, it was every like 2 hours. And my husband and I are like, we would literally sleep noon to 4. My husband and I would when he was home because we're like, when else are we going to sleep? And I remember a couple of the times we were supposed to go meet somebody for like, I think it was my parents or something. I was like, oh, sorry. Like he fell asleep. We fell asleep. And it was the longest stretch we had ever had. But I'm like, this isn't right. How the heck am I supposed to transition him from having his longest stretch in the middle of the day to his longest stretch like at night, like that first time you set him down?
Yeah, so this brings me to a good idea of something to discuss, which is, do you wake up a sleeping baby? It's always a controversial thing. And the answer is yes, you can wake up a sleeping baby. I tell people with older babies to try and watch them and see if you can see them stirring before you wake them. So we're not waking them up in the middle of a sleep cycle. But for newborns, they don't have sleep cycles yet. So we actually wouldn't want Cal sleeping from 12 to 4. But this again goes back to what works for your family, right? Like, so I'm never someone that's like, you have to do it this way. Like, if you called me and said, we really want this time, then we could figure out a way to work around it. But usually you don't want to let your newborn sleep more than maybe 3 hours in the first couple weeks. But after that, we're like 2-hour naps are max. And we're going to wake him up. We're going to feed him. We're going to play with him and then give him another nap. And so having him have these really stimulating wake windows instead of a 4-hour nap is going to therefore help him sleep at night.
For sure. And
also
no, go ahead.
Sorry. I just forgot to mention too, when you were asking about the tips, I didn't touch on letting them sleep in a sleep space, because although what typically happens is people love sleeping contact naps during the day, right? They're like, I love holding my newborn. They sleep on me. But then all of a sudden, when it's time for you to sleep, you're like, I don't want them to sleep on me anymore, right? And so what happens is they love sleeping on you all day long. And you're like, why won't they sleep at night? Well, it's because you're putting them in this foreign place, right? So instead of contact napping every time, although we love contact naps, we can alternate, like let them sleep in a bassinet for some of their naps, contact nap for some of their naps, so that the bassinet isn't like this sudden foreign thing that they're in at night and then you just leave them there, right? So like slowly getting them used to being in their bassinet. You can sit next to them, you can pat them, but putting them in there awake, even if they don't put themselves to sleep, they get used to just being in there awake. So then when they wake up in the middle of the night, they're like, oh yeah, I know where I am.
Yeah, and they feel safe. Yeah, opposed to
yeah.
And you can touch on this, but I liked one of the analogies that someone used one time where it's like, I fell asleep in the car or something, and next thing I knew, I woke up and my mom and I were in Target. Like,
exactly, it's the best.
I was freaking out. Like,
I mean, I have clients call me with like 18-month-olds, and they like let them fall asleep on them and then put them in their crib and leave them. I'm like, they wake up and they're like, wait, I fell asleep on my mom, and now I'm in this crib that has bars. And it's like, they need to get used to being in that space, awake, get comfortable in it, make it positive. Like it has to be a comfortable space for them.
That's so important too. What are some misconceptions about sleep? Like, what do you feel like the most common ones that you see, like social media or like moms who work with you or things of that nature?
Just give me a second because I know there's a ton of these, but just give me a second.
What about, and I don't know if how you feel about this too, but this is something I wanted to ask because I got this all the time with both kids. Like, oh, just if they're not sleeping through the night, just keep them up longer. Or just like, yeah, like it's like, no, because now they're overtired and they don't go to bed and then they sleep like garbage.
Yes. So great common misconception. Common misconception is if I keep my baby awake longer at night, they're going to sleep more in the day. And anyone who's ever tried it will see that it doesn't work. And the reason is I have a few analogies that I give people for this. But one of my favorite ones is think about yourself at nighttime and you're kind of winding down, you're getting ready for bed, you start to kind of get tired. But then you get on your phone and you kind of get re-stimulated and you start to get awake again. And then when you're ready to go to sleep, you can't fall asleep, right? And people call it like a second wind. And it seems silly, but it's very, very true. The way our brains work with circadian rhythms and the way our melatonin is released, there's actually an optimal time to go to sleep. So I almost never have a client put their baby to sleep outside of 7 to 8. Now, there are exceptions. Sometimes dad works late and we want a later bedtime, or sometimes we have really early mornings because of work and we do an earlier bedtime. But ideally, and people think I mean like different ages. No, everyone between 7 and 8. Like younger babies, we're trying to do more like 7:15. Toddlers were like 8 o'clock at the latest. But that's a really, really great bedtime. And if you keep them awake too long, it's just like you said, Becca, they get overtired, they get overstimulated again. And then when we're overtired, we can't fall asleep. It's harder to fall asleep. So that's a huge, really great misconception that I often like to tell people about.
That was like my least favorite. Even now, sometimes with
Yeah.
toddlers. And we've always kept the 7 to 8. In fact, I think since Thea's been born, it's even early. Like in the summer, they go to bed at like 6:30, between 6:30 and 7, because they are
Yeah.
so flippin' tired. So tired. They get overtired and then they don't go to sleep. So we were like, okay, 7 o'clock is no longer working. We're gonna do 6:30. And actually, now that Cal is in school like 4 days a week, it sometimes is also 6:30 because it's like you are too
Yeah.
tired. But they still sleep all like until their typical wake up time. But when I tell people that they go to bed at
Yes.
7, they're like, what? I'm like, it's just what works for them. Like
It
I
works.
just it's
Yeah.
just what works for them. Sometimes we have to be careful because Thea might not be ready for bed. So there was a brief period where we'd let her stay up a little bit later, but not tell Cal because if Cal knows, he would always come out of his bed and be like, "Is Thea awake?" And I'd be like, "No," and she's like down here, making noise. I'm like, "Gosh darn it!" I'm like, Thea.
Yes. So I thought of, if you want to continue with common
Yeah,
misconceptions, I thought of two more that are common ones that I found, whether Instagram, a client calling me. The first one is sleep EQs. People tell me all the time, my baby just doesn't seem tired. Like I just wait till they don't seem tired. I can't tell you how many times a baby doesn't seem tired and you set them in their crib and they go to sleep. If we wait until they really seem
they're
tired,
overtired.
they're
Yeah,
overtired.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And it happens all the time. It's like my personal experience, right? Because I'm with my son every day, but I can't tell you how many times we take a bath and then he starts running around and he doesn't seem tired, right?
Oh, he's
But
tired.
yes, so he's tired. We read a book, put him in bed, and he goes to bed. So I have to tell people that a lot because a lot of my clients are like, but they don't seem tired. They're not rubbing their eyes, they're not yawning. And like, yes, like some babies do show sleep cues. I guess for reference, my son's 19, or no, he just turned 20 months old 2 days ago. So he's older, and so maybe some babies, like parents get to know them really well, but typically we're trying to put them to sleep right before they start showing those signs of tiredness. So don't wait until you feel like your baby seems tired to put them down.
Yeah, if you have ever tried to put, I think Cal was like 5 months old, and we just wanted the last nap of the day so we could sleep through the night because he actually was a great sleeper at like 5 months old.
Yeah.
And it was the worst nap to get him. Like you would be fighting so long, but it was worth the fight because if you did not fight that nap, he would not sleep through the night. Like it was not good. He needed that little, like it was just a quick 20-minute nap. And then he had his wake window and then we got ready for bed and all of that. And that had to be a contact nap because that was the only way he would like finally
Right.
just
And that's a
succumb
great
to it.
example. Yeah, that's a great example of when you do them sometimes. Like sometimes when, you had to go out to dinner or you had a certain, your schedule was off that day, like they have to reset. They still need to sleep. And if they've reached that point, do a contact nap now and then. If they're sick, we do a contact nap now and then. And that's totally
For
okay.
sure. Or you want to extend the nap a little bit or like,
Yeah, and that's okay to do it
yeah,
sometimes. Yeah, it's just long as as long as it's not the only thing you're doing. I think it's totally fine. So another common misconception is actually, and this goes into like toddlerhood, is the amount of total sleep a child should have in a 24-hour period. People don't know that like a like after they're about 1, we're like at 14 hours total daytime sleep. And so if your baby's still sleeping 12 hours a night, which woohoo, that's amazing and that's the goal, that's 2 hours left that they have to nap and that's it. So I have people calling me often, like my 2-year-old naps for 3 hours and like and then they won't sleep at night. Well, no wonder they won't sleep at night because you're expecting them to sleep 11, usually by now it's more like 11 hours at night. But still, those 3 hours during the day, by the time they're 3 years old, we're at like 12 and a half hours total daytime sleep. So I post often about this. I give a chart of total daytime sleep so that people can look at it and you look at your schedule, your life schedule, and how many hours you want your child to sleep at night, which is usually 12 hours when they're a baby. And then you can look at their age and months and how much they should be getting in a 24-hour period. And that can help you gauge how much they should be napping during the day. Because I get people who are, still on 3 naps, 2 of them are 2 hours and then an hour and a half nap, and they're like 7 months old. And I'm like, that's way too much daytime sleep. No wonder they're not sleeping at night.
yeah, and that's really hard. Transitioning from naps is really hard. Cal,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he's always just going to be my like, he's the first. So he's what we learn with, right?
Yeah.
He took a nap until he was like 3.5. And but for months we fought with him to go to bed, like fought, like he would scream and yell and cry, like just fought for like, and not just like a little bit. We're talking like from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. we were fighting with our child. And we were like, what
Mm.
is happening? Why is it like this? And it was like he needed to drop a nap. Like he did not need to take a nap anymore.
Yeah.
He did to get through the day because he was a grumposaurus by the end of the night.
Mhm.
But if we wanted him to sleep at night, like he could not. So we started not sleeping during the day. If he was in the car, he still fell asleep. He still has that occasionally too. He'll
Yeah.
fall asleep in the car. But
Yeah.
that was huge. And even with Thea, sometimes I'm like, are you getting ready to drop a nap? Because I feel like we're getting a little close and I don't like this because you just turned 2. Your brother was like 3.5. Like,
Yeah. So when you dropped his nap, did you start noticing
oh,
a
it was so
difference at
easy.
bedtime
It
big
was so
time?
easy. And he was so ready for it. And that sometimes was when we had to move up the bedtime a little bit because he didn't get his nap. He was
Yeah.
so tired. He was grumpy. He, I don't know. For Thea actually is the perfect example of I'm not tired and I'm not showing sleepy cues. And she turns into like, this may be terrible to say about my child, but she turns into like a menace. Like she
Yeah.
is throwing and hitting, and not necessarily like in a I'm trying to hurt you type of way, in a like, I don't know how to explain it. Because when I say that, that sounds like she's just like this villain. And that's not how she portrays it. It's more of like,
Right.
yeah, she just turns into this Looney Tune. And it's like, and she does it to her brother primarily too. And so it's like, okay. And she'll do that at nap time. Not quite as much as she used to, but she'll do that at nap time. So when she goes 2 days a week to basically like a nanny, I'm like, just so you know, she turns into a Looney Tune and she starts beating up on her brother when she's ready for a nap. She's like, oh, okay, that is good to know. So, and people who watch her like pick up on it quick.
That's another question I get asked a lot is when do you drop a nap? And it's like, and that's my answer. When you start noticing your schedule's not working and your child's acting crazy or they're fighting bedtime or they're fighting a nap or their naps are shorter, like it's different for every single baby. You have to start kind of paying attention and then all of a sudden like what is wrong? Well, maybe it's time to drop a nap.
For sure.
And not necessarily I'm not talking about dropping naps
Yeah.
altogether, but even when you're on 4 naps
Yeah,
dropping to
definitely.
3 naps dropping
Yeah.
to 2.
Or shortening the nap. Like if they're taking a 2-hour nap, shorten the nap.
Yeah, that's when you go back to it's okay to wake a sleeping baby. If you want them to sleep at night, we can't let them sleep too much during the day. And, our grandmas might hate to hear us say we wake sleeping
Oh my
babies,
gosh.
but we
Can
do.
we talk about like the rice and bottles to get babies to sleep?
Oh my gosh, what a myth. My grandma still, I love her if she listens to this, but she loves to tell me, what is it? She always tells me that we gave our babies something flour,
I don't
I
know.
can't remember what it is. And I'm like, what? Like, oh my goodness, it's a whole thing. I did a lot of research. So I'm an occupational therapist,
Yep.
right? Like I went to graduate school. I love research. And so I was breastfeeding my baby. I won't go down a rabbit hole here, but he wasn't gaining great weight at about 10 weeks, I would say. And people kept telling me to give him formula, and I'm like, is formula, like, does it have more calories? Like, isn't it the same? So I would talk to my pediatrician. He was like, no, but there's all these people that swear by formula helps them sleep, and formula is more, whatever. So I did so much research, and the thing that I did find, for those who don't may not know, is the formula does, it takes them a little bit longer to
Yeah.
process the
Yep.
formula. So it's not higher calories, it's not better, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term, but at nighttime, I guess, if you want to think about it like that, maybe they feel full for a little bit longer. I'm not a big believer that like formula helps sleep, but that is one thing that I found that was interesting about
Yeah, because
formula.
it's definitely a slower digestive. I did know that. But yeah, because I'm in some Facebook groups for like pregnancy and postpartum and things like that. And sometimes when I see moms, and if you are one of the moms who's listening, like all respect to you and you do what's best for your baby. But just from like the information that I know about like rice in the bottles and what that even has nutritional value wise or how that affects our baby's like
Right.
digestive system, which it doesn't, is like it
It
just
doesn't.
it just makes me so sad in a way. Like I'm just like, oh, and because it's not a lot of times it's just lack of education or just lack of understanding. It's
Right.
just lack of understanding
Well,
now.
nowadays there's all this research that even rice isn't great for
No,
babies. Like
no.
some people use like maybe oatmeal. Like for reflux babies, sometimes the thickness is good, but for helping them sleep and giving them more calories, like no.
Craziness. So so we talked about a little bit about toddler sleep too, but do you have like a age range where you're like, oh, that's a great time to transition your toddler from a crib to a bed? Or does it again depend on signs they're showing? And what signs would you say?
Yes, I love this topic. I love this topic because people often think at 2 that they need a big bed. I've had so many clients, actually I have a good story. I'll tell you about this in a second, but I have a lot of clients that call me and they're like, "Well, they seemed like ready, so I tried to buy this really cute bed and I made it exciting and all these things." You do not have to put your toddler in a bed until it is a safety risk. It is okay for someone to sleep in a crib as long as they're safe. I have people often that keep their babies in cribs until they're 3, and it seems crazy, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but they're not always ready. Like the transition can be really difficult. So why make it difficult on yourself if you don't have to, right? Now, if they're climbing out of the crib, that's your telltale sign. It's
Dang
time.
it.
Like they're climbing out of the crib. It's a safety hazard at the as
Of
Thea's
course
climbing out of
she
the crib.
is.
Yeah, so that's your telltale sign that it's just a safety issue. Now, I do sometimes have people that will use a sleep sack that they can't get out of, so they can't climb out of the crib. And as long as you watch them and make sure that it's not a
You
safety
know, I
hazard,
actually
it's
forgot
totally
about that. And
okay.
I think I just gave her sleep sacks away.
Yeah, sleep sacks. I even have had people, I don't like tell people to
Dang
do
it.
this, but I know people who have put sleep sacks on
No, that's what I
backwards
was gonna.
to keep.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
might have one left, but I literally just went through all of her clothes, and I don't know why I didn't think about that. Maybe it's because when we were at the lake, she sleeps in a little tiny like Mickey bed. She doesn't sleep in the crib anymore, even though she
yeah,
can't climb out of that
yeah,
crib. But she sleeps in there. She's
yeah,
safe in there. She stays in her bed. But she caught Cal just getting out of his bed, like, and coming to the top of the
yeah.
stairs and like saying something to me. And she like was awake and saw it. And ever since then, she's like, I'm getting out of my bed. And she does the little like sassy thing like that. And I'm like, my husband and I are like, no,
Oh,
you're not. She
yeah.
does. And now we fight with her at night we have to like stay in her room until she like actually lays down and settles down. And we have to make sure she's actually like,
Okay, well, you need to call me after this so I can
yeah,
help you with that.
I need you apparently because
Yes, that's my thing.
we
That's what I
fight with
do.
her all
You
the
don't need
time.
to
It's
do
so frustrating.
Oh, it's so time consuming too. I can help you for sure. But yeah, so my quick story about that is I had a client recently, paid for my full package, 2 weeks, like we were going to go through, she was having a really hard time. And when I started getting to know them, the child was only 2, just turned 2. And I said, do you still have the crib? Because that is sometimes people don't want to buy another crib and they have a new
Yeah.
baby and
Yep.
they want, whatever the case may be. She's like, yeah, it's actually still in her room. It's like, well, let's just try putting her back in the crib. At this point, she had been trying the toddler bed for like
Oh,
3 months,
geez.
like just having a horrible, yeah, climbing into her room at night, having to lay with her until everything. And this doesn't always happen, but I love this story. So I'm texting her. It's our first night. We have our whole plan in place. And she's like, yeah, I'm down to try the crib one more time. I'm like, okay. Puts her in the crib. She cried, stood up, maybe 5 minutes, slept the whole night in her crib, the
Yeah.
entire night,
Yep.
12 hours.
Yep.
I was like, there you go. And she's like, wait, but now I don't need you for 2 weeks. I'm like, you're welcome. So yeah, I love that story.
That was Cal. We kept Cal in his crib until he was
Yeah.
on his 3rd birthday. We have a like custom real wood tractor bed in his room, like this ginormous thing. We found it on Facebook
Cute.
Marketplace. He was obsessed with
I
tractors at the
love it.
time. He still is. And so we're like, we'll just get it. And that was like his 2nd birthday. We're like, we'll just get it because like that's custom. Like we can't just go to the store and buy it whenever we want. So, and his room is actually like, my husband and I learned it's the biggest room in our house. So there's that. His closet is not, which is why it's his room, but his room is the biggest room in the house. And so that's in there and his crib is in there. And when he turned 3, he's like, yeah, I want to sleep in there. He did great. In fact, he did it for probably a week or 2 and was fine. And then he all of a sudden was like, I don't want to sleep in that bed. I don't want to sleep in that bed. And I'm like, what do you mean? What's like, that's okay. We can sleep in the crib. Like, no big deal. Like, we kept the crib in there. So we went back to the crib and he was in the crib for a long time, like probably a couple months. And then I finally was like, are you sure you don't want to go back to your tractor bed, bud? Like, it's so much more room. Like, you're kind of big now. And what it was is like the tractor bed has like the top part of the tractor. And so it's almost like enclosed where the pillow was. And so it was darker and he had to have a nightlight. And so when we moved the pillow out from like underneath the top part and he could see the nightlight like he could in his crib, he was fine.
It was good.
So
Oh, I love that. Some of those little things with toddlers, it's like sometimes they can't communicate what they need, but it's something so
yeah.
little.
And so that was like just a little change that he needed and he does that. And honestly, that crib was in there until last month when I took it apart and put it in Thea's new room and put because we had 2 cribs. But so I took the one that was in our old room apart and then the one that was in Cal's room, I just shifted over. I wanted to just push it through into the other side, but the dang crib is way bigger than the
Yeah.
doorway. So I had to completely take this thing apart and put it back together. I was like, what is it? What is
Oh
this?
my goodness. You're gonna have to send me a picture of this tractor bed. I want to
I
see
will.
it.
I can do that. I'll have to, for anyone listening too, if you want to see what this looks like, just send me a DM and I will share it.
I love that.
So, but yeah, that is,
So
nope,
go ahead, sorry.
that was my story. Toddler sleep.
I was just gonna say if you want any more hot topics that might be fun for listeners to hear about, I frequently have the conversation with moms about crying. If you wanted to dive into that and any thoughts on letting babies cry, how long,
That is a
what
very
happens,
hot topic.
traumatic,
Yeah.
is it, this is like a really hot topic in the
For
world
sure.
of sleep consulting.
What is your take?
So, I mean, again, back to what I said earlier, I'm an OT. I love research. I look up research on this regularly because there's a lot of people out there. I've even had clients tell me weird research studies that they've told me they read. And I'm like, can you send it to me? Because, at the end of the day, there's no research that says that a child crying is traumatic. And so a lot of times I tell my moms, not my mom, but my moms that are my clients, that think about times that you cry. I mean, I cry, we all cry. It's a form of communication. It's a form of, sometimes you're upset. And so what I explain to them is you letting your baby cry. And I just want to start with saying I never use like a cry it out method, because if you're going to do that, why would you pay me? Right? Like you can, you don't need me. But most methods will result in some crying because it's change. Babies don't like change. Toddlers don't like change. Nobody likes change. And so sometimes there's some crying, but what I tell my moms often is you're not abandoning your child. Like people are afraid that they're abandoning their child. I'm like, you are teaching them a new skill. You're watching them, you're in tune with them. We're doing check-ins with them. We're explaining things to them. You're supporting them. You're helping them through this process. And it's just like if one day you're teaching your 5-year-old how to tie their shoes and they might get frustrated and they
Oh, for
might
sure.
cry, but it's not traumatizing, right? Like another great example is daycare. If you take your kid to daycare or preschool, they might cry, but you're still going to do it, right? Or if they cry in the car on their way to the doctor's office, you're still going to do it. And so it's the same thing. It's just look at it as we're teaching them a new skill and they might be upset at first, but nothing changes if nothing changes. Like we all go through changes in life, and there's no research that it's traumatizing. Now, there are things that can traumatize a baby, right? Like I don't think if your baby's crying because they're hungry and you're just leaving them for long periods of time, then that's not okay, right? But I really love to tell people to reframe their mindset on a baby crying, because sometimes it's just a natural part of that's the only way that they know how to communicate.
Yes. And I love that you're like, you don't just leave them for like X amount of time. Like it is, or like long
Oh
times.
yeah,
Like,
no, I never leave them for long times. And honestly, not to brag, but like I've never had a client have to leave their baby to cry for more than maybe like 40 minutes, and that's with checking in with them a few times. And then I have methods where you're present the whole time. And again, sometimes they cry even if you're there, you know? So that's another thing I remind people of is if you're not nursing them to sleep anymore, you're just holding them to sleep, that's changed too. So you're still there for them, but they still might cry because it's new. But yeah, we never, I mean, I've never had someone go hours. We either pivot the method, we change, we reset. We don't, I don't think that's healthy
yeah.
either.
And at least from like what we did with Cal, it was short times. Like it was like 5 minutes. And I think the longest we did was like 10, maybe 15. And it wasn't to the point where, and it wasn't every day either. And I'm no, there people will probably have hate or have their own opinion, but you do what's best for your child and you do what's best for your family. And honestly, he is always, knock on wood, watch, I'm gonna have a terrible time at bedtime now, been like a fantastic sleeper. And like like as a newborn, he did well, not as well as Thea. Thea like came out like a champ, but I also knew like what I knew with Cal that I did with Thea. So I think that helped things. But like as a newborn, he was sleeping. What we were taught was not the 7 to 8 as a newborn. Like it could be, but he also might be like that 9 to 10. And with him, we tried the 7 and the 7 to 8 and it did not work. But if he went to bed at 10, he would sleep until 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, no,
So
newborns are not 7
that
to 8.
was,
No, after 3 to 4 months and on
yeah.
is
So
7
that
to
was
8,
really
not
helpful for him. But both my babies at 12 weeks was like, psych, we're not sleeping anymore. You have to go back to work. This isn't happening. But Cal at 5 months was like, we did like a sleep training method. We were with him. We told him what was happening. We explained it, all the things. And he was sleeping like 11 hours consistently, sometimes 12, but 11 hours consistently from like day 2 without wake ups. Like it was amazing. And like we were taught, like, you have to do it in the same space. You can't, like, don't be going on vacation or anything. We literally left for vacation on the 3rd day because I'm like, I cannot go to Florida and like have this vacation with a child who wakes up like every hour. I can't do it. And so we're like, we're just going to try. And if it fails, like we learn the hard way. And he had like 2 or 3 teeth come in while we were there. He slept through that. Like he just woke up and was like, oh, I got new teeth. And it's like, wow, you actually got
You
sleep. Like,
learn. Yeah. You just taught him a new
so
skill and he learned it quickly. And sometimes they learn things super quickly. And I love that you just said that about they say don't go on vacation, but you did that. Like that's why I love what I do, because it's so custom. Like I have parents who are like, I never want to hear my baby cry. And I'm like, okay, we can work with this. We will still figure out a way. Might take a little bit longer, but we'll get it. And then some people are like, I want my baby, like, I have 2 kids, right? I have a toddler. I have to pick my toddler up at 3, which is usually when baby should be napping. Okay, we'll work with this. Like I hate when people, I mean, sometimes the generic courses work for some people, right? Like the taking care of babies, like she has a great course and it works for some people, but it's such a customized thing that every family is so different, has different needs, has different values. Like you said, you want to go on vacation, but I still want to do this. I'd be like, all right, let's go. Let's figure this out. Like it's such a customized thing. I never write a sleep plan that's the same. Like they're always unique every
yeah,
single
no,
time.
that's awesome. Because with Thea, we tried the same thing, and we actually did do taking care of babies like before she was like this big celebrity that she is now.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
old it
And
was.
she's great. Like she's amazing. It's just some people need more support
No,
or they
and
need
with
more
Thea,
custom
we did
things. But
because
try
she
that
was literally the
first.
best. She was like a 9 to 7 newborn sleeper, like 9 to 5. I'm not kidding. She was sleeping 9 to 5 at 5 or 6 weeks consistently. Yeah, it was
Wow,
insane.
that's
But she
amazing.
did like, she was the baby when in the hospital where like the nurses put her in the bassinet and she slept and stayed there. Like she was fine. My husband and I are like, what is happening right now? We're like, Cal would
That's
not
amazing.
sit in the bassinet for even like 5 minutes. And like this baby's just been sleeping for like an hour. And we're just looking at each other because we're like, do we pick her up? Do we leave? Like, and we weren't in the hospital for long. We were literally in the hospital 24 hours from the time we had her until we left, because we had her at night. So we left the hospital. So I guess we were there like 25, 26 hours, because we left the hospital at like 11 p.m. at night. And so it wasn't a long stay, but she was like, it was so different with her. But she was an only nursing. Like she would not take a bottle. She was like, and we did everything. We worked like lactation consultants. We like, I'm sure there's more that we could have done, but with the resources we had and the education we had, we tried everything. And so she actually, once she hit like that 12, 13 weeks, she slept like garbage. And it was like that until after her first birthday. And it was like that until I decided to not do like the nursing in the middle of the night. I was like, we're done nursing. This is your last nursing session. She didn't really nurse during the day anyway. It was really just like a comfort thing at night. I was like, we're done. We're not doing it. And I tried to do that at night too, like where I wouldn't nurse until a certain time, or like my husband would go in there and things like that. So again, there's probably more that we could have done. But with what we had, that was like what we did. And she didn't sleep till she was like 13, 14 months when she actually started to sleep through the night. So it was rough.
Sorry for you.
It was rough.
Yeah, nursing is the most soothing thing for a baby. More than a bottle, more than anything. It is what it is. And it's a great thing, right? Like I love it, but it is like the hardest sleep association to break because it's so soothing.
It was just so different.
I shouldn't say to break.
It's just hard to transition them and have that transition.
Yeah.
Cal was always a passy guy, and so that was easy. And we transitioned him to only sleep and then eventually only bedtime. And then when he turned a year, like that poor kid had no bottles, had no passy, like he went to sippy cup. Like we did things a little like stern with him. But then Thea, like she wouldn't take a passy, she wouldn't take a bottle. So it was just like, all right, here we are. But she sucks on like her little lovey now. Like, and that's something that she's always done.
Oh, cute.
So they get disgusting. We have to wash them. We have so many of them because they're all over. We have one in the car, one in her bed. We have one at the nannies. We have one at my grandma's, my parents, like literally, I don't even know how many we have. There's probably a dozen.
I love that. That's how we were with pacifiers too.
You have to make sure you have what they need.
You reminded me of another good little tidbit that is a misconception. People often think that sleep training, which I don't love the term sleep training, but it's because it's misunderstood, right? I mean, we say body training, we say soccer training, but we don't like sleep training. But really, it's just teaching them a skill, and there's a million different ways to do that. But people think that and night weaning is the same, and it's not. Like you can still teach a baby to sleep independently and keep feeding them or nursing them at night. And so I tell people that often. I'm like, we can still feed them at night, and then we're just putting them back in their crib awake instead of asleep, so that they're learning to sleep independently. Like sleep training is just teaching them to sleep independently. Doesn't mean you can't feed them at night, and it doesn't mean you can't nurse them. So a lot of people think, oh, I can't breastfeed and nurse and have independent sleep. Yes, you can. I am so pro nursing. I think it's amazing. I love it.
That is great. And all great information, like from newborn sleep to toddlers. Like I'm even learning things.
Yes.
Do you have anything else that you want to add or share? Put you on the spot here. I know. Maybe.
I don't think so. Just that, like, I think I like to always remind people that because I get asked this. I did a collaboration with an influencer recently, and a lot of people were asking her, like, how old is too old to teach a baby how to sleep independently, or, what is a good age? And I'm like, you can do it at any age. I've worked with 6-year-olds before on teaching them how to sleep independently. I use some of my sleep consulting experience, but also I'm an occupational therapist. So OTs, we work a lot with behaviors and analysis and routines. And so doesn't matter the age. Like, yes, the ideal age to start is 4 months. That would be great. 3 to 5 months is ideal because their sleep cycles are changing. And so if we can catch them and teach them early, it's easier. But any age, we are here for you to help your child sleep independently. And I love to work with any age. It's always a fun new challenge.
And help you sleep because you need sleep too.
Yes.
If your child's not sleeping, you're not sleeping. And
be a good mom and be a good parent.
I am grumpy when I don't get my sleep. I've gotten better, but there's still some times where I'm like, you got out of bed at 5 a.m. It's grumpy.
It's so hard.
But yes. So if you want more information regarding all things pediatric sleep, you can follow Sarah at Little Slumber Stars on social media, and that is her website as well. She does have her newborn sleep program, and she offers the one-on-one sleep coaching, and she has a lot of downloadable resources on her website, which are amazing. So make sure you go check them out, and we will put some resources down in the show notes below too. But if that is all, we will see you next week. Nothing is TMI when it comes to motherhood, and common doesn't necessarily mean normal. Always trust your gut and never stop advocating for the care you deserve. If you enjoyed this podcast, help it reach more mamas like you by subscribing and leaving a review on your preferred listening platform. Keep in touch with me on Instagram by following Pelvic Floor Mama. See you next time.